Participants, the agenda for today's session is about the MLOps. Why is that MLOps has gained popularity these days? And what exactly is all about MLOps? I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. Post that, I'll also show you participants how MLOps addresses business challenges as well. I would like to take a quick minute to introduce about myself. I myself, participants, Siddharth, and I'm a MLOps engineer by my job role only. I work for a US client where my primary job role is to build pipelines that addresses movement of data from data sources and build machine learning models and also extend these pipelines to deploy into production environment. It means right from data to machine learning to deployment, I play a vital role in developing these pipelines. So earlier to this, I was into data and machine learning, but now I did add up my skills into the MLOps. So I'm currently working for a client based. My client is based out of US, and I do get to architect solutions and build solutions on top of it. And it's been now 4 years into the MLOps field that I've been working, and totally I have about 10 plus years of working experience. Okay, so participants, I'll try to get to code and give you the best of information that I have been working on the various projects. So imagine the company Netflix. I hope everyone are aware of Netflix and everyone, I hope, get to go and use Netflix. So why it became very popular? Participants, because a lot of people get to go ahead and use their subscription, which gets to go ahead and starts at an affordable price of 150, 149, 150. And also you get to option this called cancel at any time. Let's understand a business problem first and then get let's get to the technical solution of it. So participants, here you get to see something called movies that you get to watch. You get to go ahead and watch the movies at a very starting price of 149 INR. And also post that there is a line mentioned there, you would get to go ahead and cancel at any given point of time. So participants, what exactly I want to go ahead and convey from this is a business-based solution where we get to go ahead and avail the services, a fraction of cost, and you'll also get to cancel at any given point of time. That means you can get to go and cancel. And this is a problem for Netflix. So what is the problem for Netflix participants? The problem is people go ahead and can cancel their subscription at any given point of time. So to avoid this problem, or technically speaking, we call it as churn. So the technical definition, if you get to go ahead and visit on the internet and ask the churn word, there is a new word which might be very much popular, but let's understand a word. So what is this word called? Churn rate. So the churn rate, if you technically get to go and look at it, is like the annual percentage rate at which customers stop subscribing to a service or employees leave a particular job. I hope participants now you are able to understand a very important word called churn rate. What is the churn rate in simple language? You expect at what rate your customers are dropping. You are expecting the dropping of the customers because they would get to have the right to cancel at any given point of time. I can go and cancel at any given point of time my subscription. And as you get to have this right to go and cancel your subscription at any given point of time, companies will get to go and face the heat of this churn rate. So they want to minimize it. They want to minimize the churn rate. Now you understood a technical definition of a churn rate. So churn rate is nothing but a way at which your customers, the percentage that you get to see, at which your expected customers who were required to get retained did not get to come for the next month. That means we expected this customer will get to continue for next month. He did get to cancel it. And there could be various reasons behind it. So if you get to go ahead and look into the various reasons when Netflix has done a research, like what are the possible reasons for the churn rate? Let's get to ask possible reasons for churn rate. If you get to go and ask over the internet, you will get to see a lot of things. Churn rate for Netflix. There could be various reasons. We will not go into all those details, but at a very high level, why is this? See, why is Netflix is worried about this churn rate? You have to address a lot of things. We are not into this. Why is that they are getting to do? We are into the technical aspect of it, but at a very high level, it's a concerning factor for Netflix. So there could be various reasons. If you get to have some time participants, you can go and understand that how churn rate has an impact in Netflix and how machine learning will get to solve the problem, but various reasons. So one user from LinkedIn has posted maybe the content quality, maybe the user's experience, maybe the pricing, maybe the competition. So what are the business challenges that get to go ahead and make this problem, and what are the solutions they can go ahead and offer? Now, as a technical consultant, if I do get to hire participants for this job role, that hey Siddharth, can you get to go ahead and do predictions why a customer takes a call to churn out? There could be two possibilities. Either he could go and churn it out, or he would go ahead and continue. Our focus is not on this, but our focus is on this part. Now let's assume that participants, Netflix get to hire me, and Netflix want me to go ahead and analyze on what basis the customers do get to go and churn out. That means Netflix want to understand that why a particular customer did get to churned out. That means why he dropped, why he did not cancel. So for this, all I need is data. Correct me, everyone. Participants, what I need now, I need data about the subscribers who did get to go ahead and cancel the subscription. So the idea is now, let's get to go ahead and come to a conclusion that the possible reasons behind the churn rate are some XYZ factors, but parallelly we should get to go ahead and look at the data that why did the customers drop. That means why did they get to go ahead and did not get to go ahead and continue. So I am looking forward to understand the churn rate. So for this, if I get to go ahead and hired by Netflix, the first thing that I will get to go ahead and do is ask for the data. That means, do you have data that I can analyze and get to go ahead and see for what reasons did these customers turned out? So based upon this, participants, I'll go ahead and understand the patterns. Okay, memorize the word, participants, called pattern. Now onwards, I'll use a word called pattern. That means I'll try to understand, looking at the data, that for what reasons did the customers did get to go ahead and churn out. That means for what reasons I'll try to look for a pattern. So this pattern will help me, participants, to analyze and understand that why customers are making such decisions drop them off. That means they are taking calls to drop. So to address this requirement, participants, now I have to take a call that how fast can I go ahead and identify the pattern and how fast I can go ahead and build solutions on it. Or when I have a meet with my business team, I'll go ahead and tell to the business team that business team, I did get to go ahead and understand a pattern. And because of this pattern, customers are making calls to get the churn done. And this is how you could go ahead and avoid it. So I'll get to go ahead and focus on what is the rate at which the customers are getting to go ahead and churn. The rate I'll try to get to see. Moreover, how to avoid it. Now, one question to all of you is that participants, do you think the data that we get to go ahead and pull for Netflix, do you think that data would be how much do you expect participants? Do you expect the data? How much of the data do you expect participants from Netflix? Participants, can we expect the data with regards to, let's say, Netflix wanted to get to go ahead and do an analysis on it. So I asked them, I need the data for the model to verify. So participants, can we get to an understanding that if the data, what could be the size of the data, participants? Can you guess it? Okay, it's not going to be hundreds, it's not going to be 200s, thousands, 100,000. It will be millions of records, right? Millions of records are going to be available. So it's going to be practically difficult for me to go ahead and go ahead and assess those million records. So this is where human capacity fail. That means as a human, I'll not be able to go ahead and read all those million records. So what I do, I take the help of my machine. What I do, participants, I'll take the help of my machine and say, hey, machine, I'm very much now convinced that I should get to go ahead and look at this data. It is beyond my capacity, my capability. So what I would expect from you is get to go ahead and help me to read this million records. So participants, I hope now you got a clear idea of what I am trying to address, participants. So as of now, I have a million records from the client. Here client is Netflix for a minute, and they gave me the million records, which is impossible for me. So what I do, I get to go ahead and call my machine and I say, hey machine, please get to go ahead and learn this million records and identify a pattern in it. Instead of me identifying a pattern, I would go ahead and ask it to identify the pattern. I hope this is very clear to all of you people. Participants, I hope now you got a very fair idea what I'm trying to achieve, participants. So instead of me trying to go ahead and assess the million records, I would go ahead and ask my model or my machine to go ahead and assess those million records. So with that, participants, what I have been able to bring, the idea is I have been able to bring a subject that instead of me getting, I have been able to bring a subject of machine learning here. So what I'm able to get to do, participants, I have been able to get machine and I have been able to go ahead and make my machine to learn. So that's how the subject of machine learning comes into picture, participants. So we call this as technically the MLOps capability getting involved with machine learning. So the subject of our MLOps get to go ahead and involve the machine learning capabilities part. So here, what is a major challenge are we trying to address? The churn rate we are trying to go and address. With regards to churn rate, the problem we are trying to solve is through a machine we are trying to solve. And how we get to do the solve problem? Through machine learning. This addresses the problem. Now, let's assume that participants, I have taken a call that I said, as part of the solution development, it might take for me a matter of 3 to 4 weeks for me to deliver this project. So they asked me the estimation that how long will you get to go and do that. So I might go and say, hey, I'll need somewhere around 3 to 4 weeks to analyze this data, and you should be able to get the model that you are expecting maybe in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. Fine. So the problem here is now this 3 to 4 weeks is also essential for the client Netflix, because part of the biggest problem is I'll get to go ahead and give them the model after fourth week. That means still that fourth week, they're still losing their customers. So now Netflix want to address this problem, saying that, hey Siddharth, we want to address the problem because you expect to go ahead and build, because after fourth week you will release the model. That model might be predicting at a particular value, maybe accuracy you are giving us, accurately you can go ahead and predict saying that 70 to 80%, maybe even less than that. But if I go ahead and predict that this customer might not churn, but he churns with an accuracy of 70%, then my business team will not be satisfied. They'll ask me, hey, come on, make it better, man, because now ask them, give me another 1 week. Now you see, participants, how time is getting elapsed. From 3 to 4 weeks was initial release. From third to fourth week, I had to go and only release my first model version V1 I have released. Now I'm asking for any changes that I need another 1 week. That means I'll get to go and model V2. Likewise, another week if there is any change. This process will continue, participants. This process will get continued. Why? Because every iteration that I get to go and do, a new model, new changes every time will come. That's a big problem, right? Companies are expecting that you get to go ahead and release a model in the best possible time, but we also have to accommodate changes, right? Bugs, right? Issues, right? So these all happens to be part of your even your model also, because model is nothing but a piece of code. So as much as you get to go ahead and build your model, you'll also have to address accuracy, the changes that are expected to be incorporated, the bugs, issues, and a lot other things that you get to go improve the performance. So even model has to undergo all of this. The more time I buy, business is getting impacted. Netflix is getting impacted because Netflix is expecting me to go ahead and deliver this model in the best possible time. And I'm trying to go ahead and take more amount of time now to address this model. So we need now a strategy that can get this time delay of deployments faster. That means I need to go ahead and make it faster. And whatever the best possible release that is available, I need to go ahead and release it. So it can be tested and verified. So now we need to go ahead and bring two people. So who are those two people? The one who tests the application, who tests your model, the one who gonna go ahead and test your model, and the other one who will get to go ahead and release that model. And now I am the ML engineer where I will try to go ahead and release the first version of the model M1. And what I get to do is I'll go ahead and give it to my test engineer. So he will get to verify that there is, yes, he released the version T1 of it. He updated it. I get to go ahead and give it to my release engineer, and he releases the version V1 first of first release. Then this guy came up with some issues that while he was testing, he came up with those changes. So he addressed those requirements for me in the form of a change requirement. He sent it to me that to address these changes. So now, after those changes I have incorporated, I released my model 2 and gave it to my test engineer. He submitted T2. And based upon the changes, the release engineer released version V2. So now participants see how we have now come to a understanding of a mutual understanding that upon the changes that are done from the machine learning engineer, the changes are getting incorporated. The application is being tested and the release is happening. If this process gets to continuous participants, we call this segment called continuous integration. Continuously, we are integrating latest changes, features into the system. The process started with building a model and hand it over to the team. But team expected to get to go ahead and make it more exhaustive by bringing test engineers and release engineers and the machine learning engineers all together. ML engineer, test engineer, we get to see the test engineer here, and we get to see the release engineer. So how many people did came into the picture now? Three people. One, machine learning engineer who will develop the machine learning model for you. A test engineer will test that application for you or your model. Based upon the changes, we will get to go and hand it over to the release engineer who will release it. And this entire process now, participants, turns out to be into a continuous process of continuous integration. We get to see continuous integration happening. So imagine this process became much better over a period of time. Model became much better. The accuracy have gone to 75 and 80 above, 75 to 80 in game. And my business team, Siddharth, you have done a good job. We get to see as of today, the accuracy has hit of the model has hit to 75 plus. We are good to go and release it from this environment to the business team where we want to get it deployed into the prod environment. That means they want to go ahead and promote the last successful model of accuracy 75. Let's assume that somewhere around models version 6 has reached an accuracy of what? 75% and above. So after sixth iteration, we had been able to come to a point where the accuracy was able to hit 75% and above. So this is a model which we are expected to go ahead and release into production environment. So participants, now this process is now extending for continuous deployment. We will get to go ahead and deploy it. We will deploy where? To production. Now participants, what is the summary of this entire discussion I'm making out for you participants? The summary of the entire discussion that I'm making out for you is now the ML team at one side and the ops team. Let's get to go and break the requirements that I've talked about. So ML engineer is the one who's contributing it. Who is contributing the ML code, the model. So the ops team did comprise of testing engineers who are testing the model and handing over to release engineer who is taking the responsibility of what? Releasing the model. You know how many people have come into the picture? Machine learning engineer, test engineer, and release engineer. So now, participants, what is exactly happening is the subject of MLOps is happening here. That means machine learning engineers and the ops team have come to a point where they have a mutual agreement to work in a continuous manner backed up by CI/CD capabilities, continuous integration I just highlighted, and the continuous deployment CD. So if I have to go ahead and summarize what is machine learning, apologies, MLOps, if I have to summarize, it's all about machine learning and operations getting together. So what are we achieving from it? We are trying to achieve a scenario where people who used to work in silos, machine learning team worked in silos, testing team worked in silos, release team worked in silos, they were working in different dimensions. A company made it has a process where the process had been binding them all together. That means these people are now coming to a single point or in a process that makes all these people to bind together. So as part of this process, what are the set of people we I was just talking about? The ML engineers I was talking, who are focusing on developing the model. Now in this image, you get to see participants on the left hand side of the code, the left hand side of the image. We get to see the ML capability where data is being brought. I just explained about Netflix data, that Netflix has a big problem that customers do get to churn out. So they get to go ahead and look at the developing of the machine learning code or the model. For that, we get to go ahead and need the data. So data preparation is done at one side. Second stage after the data, we get to go ahead and see machine learning gets to take place. That means we get to go ahead and develop the models. But models development does not go and remain at one stage. It has to undergo a lot of iteration. So retraining is required. The best way to understand is if you go and build a model today which is scoring 50% and less, and you want to improve the accuracy to 50% more and above, you have to retrain it. So this process gets continued till you get to a point where your accuracy as per your business requirements, if it is meeting 75% and above, at that point of time, I get to take a review and get into the ops part of it. I get to go and release the ops part of it. So what is ops then? Ops looks get to go ahead and involve people called as ops engineers who get to go ahead and get that model deployed. We get to go ahead and get the deployed. Ops engineers will refer to those engineers who get to get the model deployed. So it is the machine learning engineers who get to go ahead and contribute the source code for the machine learning model, and the ops engineers are those who get to go ahead and deploy that model. Now, participants, it is now your call, participants, that you have to take which spectrum or which part of the spectrum do you get to be part of. Because participants, I don't want to go into the metrics of how machine learning AI is taking up the IT industry. That's a separate discussion. Let's not get into it. But participants, now it is time for you to get to go ahead and decide. Why? Because organizations have already been into DevOps engineering practices, and they are shifting from DevOps into MLOps capabilities. That means if you are already working as a DevOps engineer, they expect you to come with the skill of MLOps because they want to go ahead and adapt to the MLOps problem. I'll give another example, participants, or another reference that can help. I'm sure every company has some kind of footprint in the current space AI. Go ahead and check in your company. They will for sure have their landscape towards AI. That means if they want to go ahead and build their AI model, or if they want to go ahead and use their AI models and expect their applications to incorporate AI, that's how AI ops would come into picture. That means you as a DevOps engineer, or you get to go ahead and take the CI/CD capabilities and get to go ahead and build AI ops. If companies are building LLM models and they would expect us to go and use those LLM models, that's how LLM ops come in. Since data is available here, you will get to see participants data ops coming into picture. So my point of reference here is that participants, to all of you, it is now your call, participants, that you have to go ahead and take. That where do you belong to this? Where do you belong, participants, in the spectrum of the ML and AI space? You would fall under the space where there is development that is going to happen, or you would fall under the spectrum where the deployments to get to happen. If you ask me, development involves AI, machine learning, data, data engineering. So you will get to see ops here involving AI ops, ML ops, data ops, data engineering ops. So a lot of spaces. And there is one space which is also picking up, DevSecOps or MLSecOps, machine learning security ops. It's a separate discussion. Let's not go into the detail. But you see how things are getting transitioned over a period of time. So, do I fit into this, participants? Now the question is, do I get to fit into this? Now the ask is, will I get to go and fit into this? Participants, it's a difficult question for everyone, not only for you, even for me. Where do you fit in? On the ML side or the AI side, to the top ops side? It's a difficult question for all of us. So instead of looking at where do you fit in, it's better to get to go and have a skill set that matches the current requirement. My answer is that. My answer is that instead of figuring out the answers for it, get yourself upgraded to a skill set that helps you to adapt to both. But if you have to essentially look at the skill of MLOps, participants, my suggestion is go ahead and focus more on the ops part from apart from ML. You should focus more on the ops part ML. I'll give you one reason, participants, because I have been in this space of ML. If you get to look overall industry, 70 to 80% of the ML space is already occupied. It's already saturated. ML space is already saturated. Why? We have a lot of data scientists we have a lot of machine learning engineers we have. It's already there. It's been for a very long time that this space is already saturated. The ops space is getting taken up. That this is a rising space, the space where you can rise. The ops space in ML ops or AI ops will get to raise. So my suggestion is, participants, instead of figuring out problem and the solutions for it, get to understand, or instead of looking at the solutions at this moment, try to understand the problem first. The problem is there is a space that is available for all of us in the AI and machine learning, but we cannot get to go ahead and understand where do we fit in. So it becomes difficult for you. So to address this problem, we should get to go ahead and look into the solution that how can I get myself skilled into this spectrum of AI ops and ML ops. So I would suggest to participants understand this entire spectrum in a broad sense that from start to the end, then you'll understand how this subject will work so that you can be ready for this next stage. Otherwise, you're missing a great thing, participants, because you will miss out. Why? It's not just to make you scared about it, but there is a rapid change that is happening, participants. Companies are moving towards generative AI. We will get replaced as much as possible for mundane tasks. The tasks that can be done by a machine, we will get replaced. Applications get incorporated. So a lot of things are happening around this space. So for that, you get to need the ML capabilities, the ops cap. Okay. So participants will get to go ahead and discuss more about such questions. So I'll get to go ahead and get started participants into the next part of the session that I'll get to show you participants how will I get to solve the problems now. Participants, am I good? Can now I was just highlighting about what is machine learning that has a role to play and the ops that has a role to play here and how MLOps can bring people together and how industry has accepted MLOps. Industry has readily accepted MLOps. So now participants, technically we did not go ahead and understand how to solve this problem, but let's go ahead and understand the problem from technicalities, like technical standpoint of. So to understand the technicalities behind it, let's understand a little about the various stages that we get to go ahead and see in the process of model development. And then I'll go ahead and get to add participants, the ops, and then what are the tools and services that we get to see and how we get to go ahead and solve a particular problem. So participants, when I started like the discussions after the MLOps, now I'm coming to the technical aspects that how to carry out machine learning. So when I was in school, my teachers used to say when I just got introduced to computers, they used a word I never understood: garbage in and garbage out. Frankly, it took a long time for me to understand this GIGO concept. It was really tough for me at that time to understand what is this garbage in and garbage out. But participants, today I understand. Not today, when I started my, I understood that is really a GIGO effect, participants. In computers, that means if you get to go ahead and give incorrect participants, yeah, here is the right context of what I meant with it. So participants, the context is if you get to go ahead and expect your model to give you great results, then you have to pass great validated data or a data that is something which you can sure about. But if you get to go ahead and pass participants wrongful data, definitely your expectations or the expectations that you have from your computers will definitely fall out. So this is essentially a very vital term, participants, or very vital point that gets starts. That is, it is greatly the model development is going to be greatly impacted by the data that you get to go ahead and bring in. So participants, it has a very great role to play, as I mentioned. If we don't get to get the right data, we will get the wrong outcome as well. So to avoid it, participants, as a machine learning engineer, I have to go ahead and address a lot of data because models are thoroughly built on your data. That means you have to go ahead and focus on data engineering to get to address your model development. So that is where data comes to picture, and that's how data collection has a very vital role to play. And next, participants, it is not that all the data will be useful for transform. Participants, I hope now you're able to understand the word transformation, participants. My data is raw, lot of noise in it, lot of data that is there which is not cleaned. So I get to go ahead and take that data, drop that data which is not required, clean it. And participants, one thing that I can go ahead and give you is that machines only understand two things. What are the two things? Zero at one side and one at another side. That's all. Machines understand these two things. Machines do not understand a character A. Machine do not understand character B. Machine do not understand characters, numbers. It only understands these two numbers. So now, participants, the data that as a human I get to see is not something machine expects from machine expects from me. Transform it. In what format? Zeros and ones. Correct me, everyone. Participants, machine expects from me the transform data, where I go ahead and get to see the transform data with zeros and ones. So now, participants, now I have the greatest responsibility on my shoulders to get the data collected and transform the data and get to go ahead and focus on the model development. That means I am expected to go ahead and get the model development done. So if I have to reach to this stage of model development, I have to understand the problem first, get the right piece of data, address the necessary transformation in such a way that I can hit my model development. So now, participants, to build a model, I would need proper stages to be addressed, right from understanding data collection, transformation, model development, and model deployment. So here is the crux: the model development and model deployment. Here we fit in. Why I was trying to go and give this stage, participants, because you come from a background where you might be already, as AB said, a quality analyst. You might be from business analyst. You might be a test engineer. You might be already working as a DevOps engineer, or you are kind of getting into this ML ecosystem. So somewhere you fit into the system. Now, participants, what I want you to understand is how fast can you make an entry into the system is something that I want everyone to understand through this case, participants, or through this system. So, participants, what I want to go ahead and address is that, participants, if you are looking forward for a journey, you have to understand, do I fit in the stage of developing the model, or will I fit into the stage of deploying that model? Deployment. Because if you can understand this context very clearly, participants, even technically, you'll be able to go ahead and get yourself answers to your questions that how fast can I get to go and do a transition. So I'll go ahead and discuss about it also, participants. But what I'll do is now I'll get to go ahead and show you, participants, till reference of a DevOps pipeline. First, let me do one thing. Let me just complete this pipeline and give you, do you get to fit into this? Participants, this is a very popular DevOps strategy that is used by organizations. So what does DevOps strategy says? Developers get to go ahead and commit their changes as part of the source code. So I'm referring it by the word called source. Participants, I'm focusing on now technical aspects. As part of the source code, participants, when the changes are done, we get to go ahead and expect participants to get to do the build. What we get to do, participants, is that we get to go ahead and look at the build process. So participants, now I'm trying to go ahead and highlight about the build processes that we get to happen. So what does build in general? Build, participants, focuses on this idea that when you get to go ahead and make any changes in your source code, the source I'm referring, participants, you can consider as ML, machine learning code. So this code has to be built by someone. That means I should have, as part of the process, I should be able to get to take the changes as part of my source code for the machine learning. I should be able to go ahead and build it. And also test, I should be able to. Test cases I should be able to verify. That means even here you can fit, or I'm going to say not fit. Here there is a scope for build engineers, testing engineers. That means you are trying to get your skill sets right from build skills, testing engineering. and get to go ahead and get to move your code. I mean, then you get to go ahead and bring the code to a staging environment just before the production. You get to go ahead and release it. So this is an environment they will verify how much the model is ready to get released or what is the capacity of the model to get released into production readiness. That means you can look for yourself a role play of a data scientist. Can I get to go ahead and become a data scientist to contribute the code? Or I can get to go ahead and get to the role play of a machine learning engineer to build the model. That is how source code addresses. Build engineers. Can I be a build engineer or should I get to go ahead and take my skills and get to part of a build engineer or a testing engineer so that the models get checked before they released into production. So now participants, did you understand why did I go ahead and highlight this reference? The purpose of highlighting the reference is this, that participants is that you want to get into the role play of a developer where you want to contribute the role writing the code as a data scientist or a machine learning engineer or a build engineer, testing engineer, or you want to become a release engineer where you want to release it. Participants, now you are able to understand this. What are the different role plays that you get to see technically? Now, technically, if you look at this is a pipeline. In this pipeline, we still need people, build engineers, testing engineers, release engineers, machine learning engineers, data engineers. So, what kind of skill you have that can be used to fit into this skill set or into this pipeline? So, participants, the point that I'm trying to go ahead and bring once again to you is that if you get to go ahead and look at this pipeline technically also, this pipeline does need a lot of people to do their respective contribution as a machine learning engineer, data scientist, data engineer. Prior to this, data engineering, build engineers, release engineers, test engineers. So we need a lot of people to move this pipeline, to make this pipeline work. So this pipeline today you get to see as DevOps participants will just get replaced with a new word called MLOps. Why? The code is getting replaced with machine learning models. Instead of you developing models, you developing the source code for your generic applications, traditional applications, we will get to see this dev word getting replaced by machine learning. Machine learning. So now it is that you have to take a decision based upon your skill sets that you have garnered in your experience over a period of time, maybe as a test engineer, release engineer, or you have been working as a developer, maybe you are a Java developer, maybe a Python developer, maybe a database engineer. So, which part of the spectrum would you fit in? Because participants, I do not want to go ahead and echo this point that if you are a particular kind of skill set or a particular skilled person, I'll not get to go and say, hey, become a minimal option. I'll never say that. Now, it is participants, what I'm trying to go and give you is this is a journey that happens in near future from every company. Every company will take this journey. Which part of the journey you will fit in is your responsibility part. Because I'm just giving you a direction in which the company will go. Now, what role you have to take and you consider technically participants, it is your decision. It's open for my responsibility is to tell you direction. How would you drive in that direction? Definitely lies with you because you hold your vehicle. You have to drive your own vehicle. Now, having said that, participants, let's get back to the journey in such a way that participants today you get to go ahead and see the DevOps capabilities are being brought up here, and machine learning codes will replace the traditional applications but the ops capabilities from DevOps will still continue. And if you get to see the backbone of it, it is all your CI/CD capabilities part, continuous integration and continuous deployment. If you ask me, why did I go ahead and get this pipeline? Because participants, if you look at MLOps, MLOps is all about replacing the idea of DevOps with the machine learning code. And if you get to go ahead and look at DevOps at the core, it is CI/CD capable. It is CI/CD at the core, participants, where we get to go ahead and understand the problem, understand the code, build it, test it, and release and deploy. So how MLOps is different from DevOps and how technically things are different on your screens, participants. Everyone, now I would request every one of you to go ahead and give a solid attention to this diagram. This is one of my favorite diagrams, and I've taken it from mlops.org, a popular website or a popular community. Because to understand the MLOps capabilities, you need to understand the crux, the CI/CD cap. If you understand CI/CD, you will understand, participants, how the MLOps will work. So now, participants, let's understand what happens in machine learning and how this machine learning will get to go ahead and address this. Now I'm getting to go ahead and discuss about it, participants, in technicality. So at a very high level, if I go ahead and break down MLOps, participants, as I mentioned, MLOps comprises of machine learning and the ops capabilities together. So in machine learning, what I said at the start of the session, we will get to go ahead and handle data, where we get to go ahead and show the data to the machine, and we expect a model to be built around it. And we get to go ahead and release it through ops. We'll release it to the ops. So now, participants, there are two things at the ML. One, data, and the other, your code, source code for now. So whenever there is any change in the data, we need to address that change in the data. There is any change in the code, also we need to address. The best example I'll give you, participants, now bringing back Netflix. So participants, month on month, don't you expect their data will change, participants? Let's put an interval of 1 month. 1 month, maybe out of 1 million customers, maybe 1%, that means 100,000 customers have been unsubscribing. Next month, maybe 0.5%, 50,000 customers might have been subscribing, unsubscribing. So definitely there is a change in data. So we need to go ahead and incorporate our model in such a way that we need to address what changes that have taken place in the data, followed by at the code level. That means how will I go ahead and write the code to accommodate these changes that have taken place in the data, so that whenever there is any change data that occurred, how will my model learn that there is some change in the data? Correct me, everyone. If you go ahead and break down, participants, now MLOps has to be understood something like this, participants, technically. So if I get to go ahead and look at MLOps, I have to go ahead and address machine learning capabilities and ops, which I've been just highlighting from the first slide of the session, where I get to go ahead and see what participants machine learning happening. For machine learning happening, I need to address two things. One, data, which is going to change every now and then. And to address the changes in our versions, we also need to go ahead and check the source. So these are the two things that play a very vital role to build my model. So data, example, as I mentioned, Netflix data keeps on changing month on month, year on year. So how will I address the data engineering aspect of it? What factors that influence? Some examples I'll give you, participants, factors influencing subscription. Maybe the customer is not happy with the quality that they get to see. Maybe he's a student, he is now getting to the university exams, So because of this university exams, he's not looking forward to subscribe. So what is his age? Age has a role to play, because if he is a university student who is getting closer to exams, he will definitely drop his subscription. Followed by maybe an employee who was having time earlier to watch movies and videos, uh, documentaries, now do not have time because he might got into a project. So there could be so many things that are to be analyzed as part of the data to build a great model. So such changes are to be recorded in the source so that the model can be made better. That best model that you get to go and take it participants, you will deploy into the operations. We get it deployed into the ops via the ops team. We'll get it in the source code. I will write my algorithm selection of algorithms, hyperparameterization of what algorithms should I do and transform. I'll write it as part of the source code. Now, participants, what I'm trying to code and I'll try to make it quick and easy for all of you is that as part of the MLOps, if you get to code and look at it, participants, you will get to see majorly machine learning and the ops happening together. Machine learning addressing the changes in your data as well as the changes in your source code. Once you get to have the proper machine learning via the ops process, you will release it. That is what has been clearly explained in this MLOps engineering. It all starts by getting a proper development done. You see the development on the left hand side, where we get to go ahead and analyze the data that we are about to go ahead and use, right? May handle the proper data engineering task, then building the model, and then you get to go ahead and make those changes as part of the source code via the CI/CD capabilities. You get them deployed. The model you'll build it, you'll get to post it as part of the registry. And once it is done, participants, you will go ahead and deploy it at an endpoint so that it can get to go and do prediction, inference. It is expected to do code and infer something. So I'm expecting the model to go ahead and infer an outcome. I'm expecting if I have to go ahead and build a model, that model should go ahead and infer it. Let me just get to go ahead and show you participants something that I have for you participants. What is that? Let me open up my terminal. Let me get to go ahead and call out my images that I have been building for the machine learning model. So Docker, which you go ahead and run. Now participants, what I'll do, I'll just get to show you how I have been making my application ready for all of you. First, let me demonstrate to you. And then participants, once this demonstration is done, then what I'll do is participants, I'll get to show you how will I go ahead and address, how I have addressed this requirement. So let me use my Postman to address this requirement. First, let me show you the outcome, and then participants, I'll get to show you. So here I built a model participants, which is expected to go ahead and give you an outcome. So let's get to go ahead and use localhost and get to put a request to the local host. So it says welcome to API. And this model is capable to do predictions for me when I get to go ahead and pass data to it. What kind of data? JSON data involving some entries. What are those entries? I'll show you also. I'll get to show you participants. The entries it expects from you is about the room count and the area in square foot. Somewhere around, say, some 800 square foot. So it is expected to give me the rental income for it. Yeah, it is post method that I should say. Yeah, it is getting me the rental income. It will keep on changing its value participants if I keep on changing somewhere around 2000 square yards. Okay. So it is keep on changing. Now, how this model has predicted the rental price participants, I'll get to show you participants how exactly code is going to work for you. So I have been building a model involving a Docker image participants. It has been able to go and do predictions for you. So participants, how did I get to go ahead and write the model? Through containerization. I try to build a container. So let me get to show you participants the containers that I hold. So there is a running container that is a container that I hold. This container is running the application app.py file. The app.py file is the application where I have deployed my machine learning model. The model is available participants. So this model is something that I have been building through containerization through Docker for deployment into environment. I get to go and deploy it into. I also hold participants Kubernetes models to go and do the deployment. So Kubernetes, could you go ahead and get me the models that you get to own? If you can allow me participants, kubectl, can you get me the nodes that I own or not all the pods? So I can get to go ahead and do the deployment involving Kubernetes also. Kubernetes, can you get me the pods? I think I have to get pods. I get to go ahead and use certain pods. Yeah. Let me show you participants. How can I go ahead and use these pods? So for that, kubectl, can you go ahead and do port forwarding involving the service pipeline? So I get to go ahead and use a service called participants kubeflow. So participants, let me get to show you. I use kubeflow to address my requirement, build my pipeline, do the experimentation on top of it. I use another skill set which is also becoming very popular participants, which is ML flow participants. ML flow 5000. Okay, there is a running service there. So that is the reason it is not able to resolve the application. Let me get to code and stop the model here. Thank you, model. You have been a great help to me. Now let's get to go ahead and look at the machine learning. Yeah. So I've been building experiments and models out of it, participants. You get to see how I go ahead and track my runs that I take place. I get to go ahead and see the experiments that I go ahead and make to happen. If you want to get to go ahead and build, you can build a new model, participant. You can build experiments for your LLM models, and MLflow is very popular in this. So participants, there is a great scope of these two popular tools that I've highlighted for the MLOps participants. One is Kubeflow and the other one is MLflow. So participants, it is very, very vital for an engineer like you who is looking forward to get to transition your skill sets from current traditional skill sets into the next level skill sets. These are the two tools that I'm asking you to consider: Kubeflow and MLflow participants. So Kubeflow is your system for your MLOps engineering, sponsored by Kubernetes community. MLflow is parallelly equivalent to that of your Kubeflow, which is also winning the competition in the space to build models. Not only models, participants, I've been using this for generative AI applications. Recently, in the last couple of projects that I worked earlier, we have used MLflow. It works like a champ. How it is, if you just want to go and understand the role play of it, let me just get to go and give you a very high level how MLflow fits into the model development. So let me just get to code and show you participants how it is done. Give me a second. I'll get to show you a quick start, easy way to understand it. Actually, I'm looking at an image. That image should help you to understand. says getting started, and there is an image that I can give you as a reference. ML flow. In that, it does show you all people, what exactly it has a role to play, and what are the where do you fit in that requirement. I think this is the place where it gets to show you. Okay, I don't get to see that image, participants, but let me try. uh, ML flow, and let me just refer an image which can, yes, this is a image, perfect image that I where exactly I'm looking. Yeah. This image is something that I want you to just have a look into it. And participants, the one that I was talking about is this image, participants. From start of the session, I was trying to code and explain you all the time, participants, right? We get to go ahead and see the various data roles like a data engineer, a data scientist, machine learning engineer, business team, how I am able to put, because I know the importance of tools like Kubeflow and MLflow, how they do allow us to fit into this ecosystem of the broad spectrum, where it all starts by data getting prepared, EDA, data engineering, feature engineering, model development, model deployment, and get to monitor it. And ML engineers, data scientists get to fit into these pipelines. And tools like MLflow and Kubeflow have a great adaptation in the space of MLOps engineering.